Hi, this is Miss Brubeck. These are notes on how to factor trinomials. And I first want to just talk about what a trinomial is. So if you've ever seen a tricycle has three wheels. And so a trinomial, they both have the tri. That tri means three. So tricycle, three wheels, trinomial, three terms. So a trinomial has three terms. Oops. And I accidentally reloaded. Just a moment. And that deleted. Okay. Tri means three. Trinomial has three terms. So if we look at an example on the next page here, like this one up here, it has three terms. The x squared is a term. The 6x is a term. And the 8 is a term. It has three terms. So we'll be factoring things like that in today's notes. Factoring means finding what multiplies together to equal an expression. So when I talked to you before about what are the factors of 10, you told me like 5 and 2, 1 and 10, because those numbers multiply to get 10. When we're talking about factoring, we're talking about what two expressions multiply to get another trinomial. So there's a trick for factoring. When we are factoring, the trick is that we want to find two numbers that multiply to get us 8 and add to get the middle number of 6. So you want to find two numbers that multiply to get 8 and add to get 6. And there's a trick. I oftentimes show students this diamond method. And if you're like, well, how do I make this diamond? You can go here where there's this circle and just change it to the top right. It's a diamond. And you can make a diamond. So I made lines to the diamond, and we are going to try to find two numbers. This is just like an organizational tool. Two numbers that multiply to get us 8 and add to get us 6. So then I'm going to use this T chart here and write down all the factors of 8. So 1 and 8 multiply to get us 8. 2 and 4 multiply to get us 8. That's all I can think of. So then we're going to write down the sum, and sum means addition. So what do these add to? Well, 1 and 8, that adds to 9, and 2 and 4, that adds to 6. So when we're looking for two numbers that multiply to get us 8 and add to get 6, those numbers are going to be 2 and 4. So we're going to use 2, and we're going to use 4. And then the way you write your final answer is we're going to put parentheses. We're going to put a parenthesis here and a parenthesis here, a parenthesis here and a parenthesis here. And inside that parenthesis, we'll put x plus, and you'll take your 2. You'll put plus 2 because it's positive. And then plus 4, x plus 4 because the 4 is positive. And that is your answer. And what this is saying is that if we were to multiply these two expressions together, if we were to multiply these together, we would get our original trinomial of x squared plus 6x plus 8. Next slide. Now we need to find two numbers that multiply to get us 16, but add to get a negative 10. So I'm again going to make my diamond and lines through it. Two numbers that multiply to get 16, but add to get a negative 10. So let's think of all the factors of 16. 1 and 16, 4 and 4, 2 and 8. And if we add those, 1 and 16, that's going to get us 17. 4 and 4 is going to get us 16. And 2 and 8 is going to get us 10. Now the 2 and the 8 is close, but notice how we're trying to get a negative 10, a negative 10. So just a quick review, if we're talking about multiplication, 2 times 8 we know is 10. Or sorry, 2 times 8, that's 2 plus 8 is 10. 2 times 8 is 16, it's a positive. But if you also do negative 2 times negative 8, you're going to get 16. So either both the numbers can be positive or both the numbers can be negative, and it's going to multiply to get us 16. So we can make a negative version of all these numbers. We can do -1 and -16. We can do -4 and -4. And we can do -2 and -8. Those will all multiply to get us 16. If we add those together, -1 plus -16 is -17. -4 plus -4 is -16. And -2 plus -8 is -10. I have the hiccups. So the numbers that are going to work are -2 and -8 because they multiply to get us 16 and they add to get us -10. I'm going to write my answer like this: x with I'm going to write my parentheses, and so this time because they're negative, we're going to say x minus 2 and x minus 8 because they are negative. And so that is our answer because they are negative. And what we want to say here, or what we're going to think here, is that when we multiply these two expressions, we're going to get this larger trinomial up here. Okay. So let's move on to slide 4. This time we want to find two numbers that multiply to get us -12, but add to get us a +1. So two numbers that multiply to get us -12 and add to get us a +1. Multiply to get us a -12, add to get us a 1. Now, when we're multiplying, and you want to get a negative number, let's say 1 and 12. So 1 times 12, we know equals 12. But if you want it to be negative, one of the numbers needs to be negative, either the 1 or the 12, not both. So when you're trying to get a negative number, one of the numbers needs to be negative, either -1 or 12, but not both of them. So for factors of 12, we can say -1 and 12, or we'd say a +1 and a -12. Just switch which, one of them has to be negative. Let's see, we could also do -6 and +2, or +6 and -2. We could also do -3 and 4, and +3 and -4. So all of those numbers are going to multiply to get us a -12, and now we just need to add. So -1 plus 12 is going to be 11. 1 plus -12 is going to be -11. -6 plus 2 is going to be -4, and 6 plus -2 is going to be a +4. -3 plus 4 is going to be a +1, and 3 plus -4 is a -1. Now we want to find a number. We want to find two factors that add to be a +1. They need to add to be a +1. So we're going to use the numbers -3 and +4. Those two numbers multiply to get a -12, but they add to get a +1. And when we're writing the answer, you're going to have x minus 3 because the 3 is negative, and then x plus 4 because the 4 is positive. And that is your answer. And when you're thinking about this, what we're saying is that if we were to multiply these two expressions together, we would get this original trinomial. Okay. We're going to go ahead and move on to slide 5. So on slide 5, we're doing the same thing. This would be a good time for you to pause the video and try these problems on your own, and then watch the video once you've done them. But we'll give these a shot. So you're looking for two numbers that multiply to get you a +20 and add to get you a 9. So we need to find numbers that multiply to get us a +20 and add to get us 9. And so factors of 20, and then on this side we'll find the sum. Factors of 20, let's see, we'd have 1 and 20, 2 and 10, and 4 and 5. And then we want to add them. So 1 plus 20 is 21, 2 plus 10 is 12, and 4 plus 5 is 9. So we want to find a number that adds to get 9, and that's going to be 4 and 5. So 4, it goes here, and 5 goes here. So when you're finding that answer, they're both positive. So your answer would be x plus 4 and x plus 5. All right. Same thing for the next one. We're looking for two numbers that multiply to get 18 and add to get 9. So if you think about, oops, didn't mean to do that. Okay, factors of 18. It's too big. Factors of 18 are going to be 1 and 18, 2 and 9, and 6 and 3. And if we add those together, 1 and 18 is going to get us 19. 2 and 9, that's going to add to be 10. And 6 and 3 is going to add to be 9. So when you're looking for numbers that are going to add to be 9, we're going to use 6 and 3. So our answer is going to look like this: x plus 6 and x plus 3, because they're both positive. Now, I want to show you something. Sometimes a problem is going to say that they want you to factor it, and it'll also say, maybe it'll say factor and solve. And I want to show you what that's going to look like if it says factor and solve. So if a problem says factor and solve, you factor like you just did, but then we're also going to solve it for, solve it for x. So what that would look like is you would set these equal to 0. And so what you'd have here is you'd have x plus 6 equals 0, and you'd have x plus 3 equals 0, and then you'd solve them each for x. So we could draw a line down the middle of each. And then we would just solve it for x. We'd subtract the 6 on both sides. And if you do that, the 6 is crossed out. You bring down your x, and you're left with x equals 0 minus 6 is negative 6. So that's one of the answers. X equals negative 6. And then you would do the same thing over here. You'd subtract 3 from both sides. When you do that, the 3's are going to cross out. You bring down your x, and you have x equals, and they're going to do 0 minus 3, which is negative 3. And so your answer would be x equals negative 3. So your two answers would be x equals negative 6 and x equals negative 3. And you only need to do that if a problem says factor and solve. Right? Make sure you have this written down on slide 5, and then you can turn it in.